welcome to Taking Over. I am, of course, OLED Ed Fries, and I'm joined by the natural Astrid Pizarro. And Astrid, can you go ahead and introduce our wonderful guest for the post-show for No Mercy tonight?
I feel like I'm gonna miss something. I do apologize. He does a lot.
Go ahead. It's totally fine. It's totally fine.
Let's see. We got this. We got host, interviewer, content creator. I hope I don't miss anything else. The Wrestling Classic, aka Justin. Yay!
What is going on? Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you being here. It's going to be a bunch of fun.
Well, for sure. I'm also a writer, and I also do a lot of other stuff, guys. I create merch for 500 level. If you guys, we just got off of NXT, so I want to plug this really quickly. If you are looking for merch for your favorite NXT superstars, 500 level, check them out.
Yeah, and you can find all of Justin's links down here at the bottom. If you need anything and you miss a link or you want just an easy way to get to it, linktr.ee/The Wrestling Classic. That will take you to everything. It'll take you to his website. It'll take you to his Twitter, his Instagram, for all of his different content that he creates. Everything is all right there. So just go ahead and jump in there.
No, definitely. Yeah, and let me know if I'm live on YouTube and Instagram because we're testing this out.
For the first time we have a guest who's like, I want to go live on our channels. I'm like, do it. That sounds like fun.
I was hoping it worked.
We got Auntie cheering on Twitch. Thank you very much, Auntie. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you for that. She's very excited for Justin to be here. We got our friend Chris Parrish in the chat saying, Femi and Tony D, what a match. Jaida Parker and Kelani Jordan stepped up. They did indeed. We're going to get into those matches in just a few minutes. STG says, was finally able to watch a full show. Looking forward to the recap. There you go, STG. Thank you for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. Justin, what were your thoughts overall on No Mercy as a card from top to bottom?
I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought everything made sense. I thought the matches made sense. I think there's a good balance of women's wrestling and men's wrestling. I thought it was really good. I'm gonna get into some stuff when we get to some certain matches, but overall, I enjoyed the show.
Astrid, what did you think?
I feel like overall, especially the crowd, they had such a great energy tonight. I feel like almost every match got a "this is awesome" chant, which is like, it feels rare to hear at this point. But again, it's something that happens in NXT, so I'm very glad that they got that kind of feedback from the crowd. I feel like there was a moment or two that the crowd kind of did, but it didn't happen much. So it was nice to see that they were like awake and open for this from beginning to end, basically.
Yeah, the thing I would say is I love seeing NXT in a big building. And I'm glad that this is going to be, at least for the near future, what we're going to be expecting to see. We've got one more month inside the CWC, and then we're going live for two big shows in Chicago and St. Louis. And hopefully from there, we just keep rolling into big towns as opposed to going back to that the CWC. Because this is so much better. Like Auntie says, that crowd was locked in. With the exception of one match where they got a little quiet on me and I didn't like it, but I liked the match. I didn't like how quiet they got on us. Bobby,
yeah, but that might be a problem having 5 matches on a show and all 5 matches being great, and then not having a match where wrestling fans might have been like. And if I'm gonna be fair, the opening match might have been the Get Me Up match in any other spot on this card, but instead it was the opener. And every other match I followed that was like a match you had to see. So it was like you didn't have a Get Me Up match, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Like the 6-match card was definitely condensed and squashed a little bit to big matches. I mean, 5 title matches and a big grudge match on one card. It's a great card to put out there, and it's a reason to watch the show. But as a live crowd, you're going to tire them out when you have such great stuff going on. Chris Best jumping in, totally great show. It's unfortunate my boy Joe Hendry didn't win. 2 out of the 3 things that I needed are in place. Ashton's already worried because I think I got this one right 2 months out, so I'm very excited. We'll talk about that when we get to the main event. Thank you for joining us, Chris Best. But let's go ahead. Let's change screens to this side. We can thank Chef Michael here on the screen. And let's go ahead and start where NXT started. Axiom defeats Chase University to regain the NXT Tag Team Championships after only a few weeks without them in the head-scratching match of the night, in my mind. But Justin, what did you think of this match?
I went into it saying like, okay, they're putting it on first, so something's got to happen. And I, for some reason, my brain was fully like, either Axiom and Nathan Frazer are going to turn on each other because they've teased tension between them for weeks now. It wasn't until the match was over that I was like, oh, something's going to happen here. What chased you?
Yeah. Astrid, what about you? What did you think of your boys regaining their titles?
I'm glad this was the opener because I feel like it was such a good, like, energetic match, and this is something that I'm used to with both teams in here, and I enjoyed it a lot. I just had those moments of, like, especially towards the end, we had so many close calls. I just couldn't believe what was happening. I went 1-2. Is it gonna happen now? And I was so afraid whenever something would come up. But there were so many moments that Rich, though, especially, I feel like he was such a highlight in this match. We got to see more from him than we usually do, and I was very happy to see that. And it just overall seeing him, like, that presentation that he had, like, I don't want to say as a monster, but like that powerhouse kind of like presentation that he gave us today was just incredible to watch. And again, we had that moment that Nathan kicks Axiom in the middle of the match, and again, so I was like, oh no, it's happening. That's what I could think about. I was so afraid for what was going to happen afterwards. But when they won, I feel like even the crowd at that moment was quiet, just thinking of, like, did that just happen? Was it really a 3? Was this a mistake? Was this supposed to happen? um so very happy to see that the Axiom are champions again. Again, I love them as a team, so it's pretty nice to see this happening. But again, it's like the aftermath of this was something that it just took me over. Seeing somebody like Thea, who's the one that welcomed Rich first and more than anybody in CSU to the group, and to see him coming in here, destroying everybody else, and she's over there helpless. And at that moment where even she turns him around and she looks at him like, kind of like, why are you doing this? And he, like, looked at her, but he knew he couldn't do anything towards her. But seeing basically all the bodies that he left around, and she's like looking around and just, are they gonna blame her because she's the one that really opened the arms first of all and chased you to him? Everybody else was hesitant, but they did it because of her. So I wonder how that will be moving on forward afterwards.
We got B. Easlin joining us. Thank you for saying that. Fraxium, the best tag team in 2024. Very possible. They make it like that's their name. I'm not feeling it. We go with Maxi here on taking over.
Yeah.
Like it rolls off the tongue just a little bit better. You don't have to have that extra letter in the between. But they are an incredible team. I like where they're headed. I just want the heel turn at some point. At some point, I just want that heel turn that we got coming between them. But
I feel they've been a team for a while now. That's the only issue.
Yeah.
It's just like, and they've teased that, like, sometimes Frazer's attention is more in a singles career than it is on the tag team career, and it's like, I don't know. We get a lot of teams turning each other in NXT, so it seems kind of redundant. But like at the same time, they've teased it. I want to go back to, you guys talked about the crowd earlier and how the crowd was really loud and all this stuff. And when you guys were saying that, I was thinking about this moment. This Denver, Colorado crowd was filled with heels because when Ridge put Andrew Chase to that table, they were saying one more time. They were chanting for one more time. And I was like, oh, these guys have not had a PLE for a really long time. And this is telling us why. They're with the bad guys tonight.
Yeah.
And it's the home of Raw tomorrow night. So if they're a heel-heavy crowd, oh boy, are they going to get their fill tomorrow night on Raw. I am very excited for that. We got Brainbuster joining us. Excellent match. I was surprised Chase Lee lost the title so quickly. I agree. I'm surprised they lost the title so quickly, but I'm glad that there's storyline development even in it. So having Ridge win this thing and having him get this first title of his career and have this be such a great moment for him, and then utilizing the loss to spark this uber heel turn for this big bastard in the ring is such a good idea. And I love that at least a 2-week reign means something because they're utilizing it to tell other stories going forward. And to me, that's one of the keys to wrestling. If you can do something, even if it's a shock, as long as it continues telling a compelling story, I'll buy in.
And to your point, Ed, I know that we are in an era where long title reigns reign supreme and nobody likes the hot potatoing of titles and all that type of stuff. But, I always say you look at a guy like Randy Orton and people be like, oh, he's like a 15, 16-time world champion. And like, that's what people remember. They don't remember that some of his reigns lasted a day or within the same 24 hours.
Mhm.
He's on that list of how many times he's won the championship.
Mhm.
Right now, it's in your memory, and you'll remember that they were only champions for 2 weeks. But when you 5 years from now, when you look back fondly at Chase U, if they're still together or not together or whatever, you're like, oh, at least they won the tag titles,
Yeah.
And you won't care about how long it was for. You just be like, at least they did. They accomplished that, So that's just my take.
No, I agree. I've always been a fan of after, like, my thing with the Intercontinental title right now is I continue to push for flipping that belt. Like, once Sammy won it, I was like, great, Sammy should have a 2 to 3 month reign, and then you flip it. And I was thinking Chad Gable, and then I'm like, then you can give it to Chad, let Chad run with it for a bit, flip it to somebody else. Obviously, it's now on Braun, and we can't flip it too quickly on him. But at the same time, I don't want another 2-year reign with the Intercontinental title. I don't want another 2-year reign from Cody Rhodes to that championship. I don't mind flipping the title 6 to 9 months for a world championship or sooner. I mean, John Cena, people, 16-time world champion, like we were talking about Randy. There's a lot of those reigns that are legitimately 2-month reigns because that belt flip-flop back and forth.
Mhm.
And it's just great to see that kind of storytelling back in. Brainbuster jumping in again. I figured Ridge return when they lost the titles just wasn't affecting it. So I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. I think it's great to see. And again, it's giving Ridge a personality. It's giving him something to do. For a guy who's had so many missed opportunities because of bad luck, it's nice to see him finally getting an opportunity. Remember, this was the guy who was supposed to be the forefront of the Pat McAfee group when McAfee took on the Undisputed Era. And then he came back, and he was supposed to have a big feud with Adam Cole when he came back. And he got hurt again. Like, this guy was constantly bad luck after bad luck. The Big E thing, more bad luck for him with the Big E thing. Because it wasn't really his fault. And it's a wrestling thing. It happens. And this poor guy just had so much bad luck in his career. It's nice to see something going right for him. So let's hope that it continues and move on. But congratulations to the new champions. Triple threat match. The only thing I don't like about the triple threat match that they signed is they're not putting OTM in this match. And OTM started something with Hank and Tank on Tuesday. And I really would have wished it just would have been a fatal 4-way. And you can still have either Gallows or the Rascals win the match like you're going to do. And it doesn't hurt nobody to put OTM in there to just erase Hank Tank from the equation and to continue telling that story going forward. In my mind, and maybe they have something bigger planned. Maybe Hank Tank shock the world and pull off the victory. God, I hope they don't. But maybe.
Maybe OTM is the reason why Hank and Tank don't win. We'll have to wait and find out.
I was about to say that.
Yeah, right? Like, we don't know.
Yeah.
Speaking of things we don't know, I was not expecting this match to be second on the card. But boy, was it a banger. Wesley taking on the new X Division champion from Friday night, Zachary Wentz. Astrid, you're a big Wesley fan. What do you think of this match?
Oh yeah, this was definitely, like you said, it was not what I expected to happen like second on the card, to be honest. But again, I love how they were like hard hitting with each other. I always say the best friends always hit each other a little bit harder because they trust each other a little bit more than usual. So you can see that happen in this match. I think the only I don't want to say unfortunate, but the only part that was kind of like awkward-ish was the moment when the commentary table just broke. But I like that Wes took that moment and he's like, no, we're going to make something out of this though. And he told Zach, stay down. And he did his move, protected Zach in the process, but still made it look well enough that, it kind of went with the time at the table there. And the detailing, Zach's attire, the attire with all the pictures of both of them. One there, like the Dusty Cup, for example. All that part of his gear as well. I was like, the detailing this brother has with this gear. And he says, I'm my brother's keeper as well on his gear. Like those type of details you don't get from most people during their matches and the storylines. And I love seeing that. But they work so well together. And it was like, I just didn't know how they were going to have the match end, because I was thinking, would you want the TNA champion that just got crowned 2 days ago actually lose the match like this, or do you want somebody like Wes to like keep what he's saying? He's above Zachary's level, so do you want him to be Zach instead? But it definitely had me like I was torn on that one. But I like that when Wes went to get I think it was the chair, if I'm not mistaken, to go hit Zach, when Trey went and pulled it away from him too, because I was waiting, when are we going to get Trey and Miguel's presence in this? So I'm glad it at that moment too, and that Wes was not able to take advantage of that as well, and Zach was able to get that win in the end. The newly crowned X Division champion on top on an NXT pay-per-view. Who would have thought that would happen?
Yeah. I love this. I love the finish, the creativity of the finish. Yeah, it's nothing special. This isn't, rewriting the script. It's a standard finish that we haven't seen for a while that made sense for the story we're telling. Wesley gets beat by himself. He doesn't really get beat because Trey, inserts himself in the match. And it leaves room for Wes to go to TNA to challenge for the X Division title still. And you give TNA something here, like you talked about. Do you really want TNA's new X Division champion to lose? No. You want to continue and propel that. It gives TNA something, as people say, how many times are these TNA talents coming to WWE and winning on the WWE side? Here's one we can look at and say that they did. It was a fantastic match. These guys went out there. They killed it for each other, and they tried to kill each other, which was great. That's the best thing you can see out there. They got all the time in the world. They did everything that they needed to do. Chris Perez says the match was a little too pretty. I agree. If it had a stip, I would agree with you. I think for the fact that it was just a straight wrestling match, I think it was exactly what it needed to be. I would have preferred a stip on this, some kind of a street fight or something.
I'm just going to point out that we're not actually officially live on Instagram. I was not live before, but I just figured out the situation. For those that are watching this, guys, we've been live for a minute. We already reviewed the first match. You can check it out on YouTube. All the links are below, scrolling along. And if you're on Instagram, what's up? I really enjoyed this match. I thought this match was great. I think it's one of those situations where we didn't know if or when we were ever going to see it, considering that Wentz is back in TNA and West stayed in NXT. And the Rascals never really had a split up or really wrestled each other to that extent. So to see that happen here, I thought that was super cool. I like the play on the fact that we didn't see Trey right away. So when Trey did come, when West grabbed the chair and got involved, it was like, oh yeah, there's a third Rascal that we almost forgot about because we were so invested in this match that was nowhere to be seen, and he popped out of nowhere. The only thing that I think really shocked me about this more than anything was the fact that someone from TNA actually won a match at an NXT PLE. I don't know, those two things that came out of this is that was cool. I didn't think that would happen. I don't know why. I just felt like that's not something that you'd see in NXT. On a regular weekly NXT show, sure, but on one of the PLEs, that's kind of a big deal. And then also for a lot of people, this was the sign that, if Zach won, then Joe Hendry definitely ain't. And I think that was the only issue with it too. You said something early on about the placement of this match. I agree with that too. I think you could have probably swapped this and where the Femi match was, and it would have probably worked a little bit better. And two, it could have been like a street fight or something for sure.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I were to swap anything, I would have swapped this with Kelani and Wendy. I think I just would have those two matches right from each other. I think that the placement of tag match, women's match, two men's big beefy matches, two fast guys, and then the two beef, and then the women's championship, and then the NXT championship. And we'll get to the end of that card because I think that should have been flip-flopped too. But I think that would have made a better sense of the way. Like I said, it's not the end of the world that it was on second. It spelled doom for the next match because we've now sufficiently tired out the crowd going into the next match. We got Millie Rose jumping in saying the show was so good. It was indeed. We all agree it was really cool. Another great match, that Rose on Zach's gears for Gigi was a cool touch too. I agree. Ashton pointed that. I still didn't see it even after it was pointed out. I somehow missed the Rose.
It was on the jacket though. That's why it was on the jacket.
I didn't see. Oh, I didn't see it either. That's cool.
Yeah.
Brainbuster saying, sorry, Ashton was going to cover you for a bit here. I thought West was going to win this match and then challenge for and lose the X Division title in TNA. I agree. I thought that's how I had this booked out in my mind. It's how I talked about it on the preview show. And if you want to see that, you can go ahead and watch that on YouTube.
That being said, I don't think this is their only match. I think this is first of like a trilogy or something. Yeah.
This is definitely the first of some matches. I don't know how many.
Yeah.
I want to see West versus Trey now. I want to see some of this in TNA.
So that's what I was gonna say. Is this a sign of if Zach won here? Is this a sign of West going over there and winning?
Maybe. I would love to see Zach beat Trey and earn an X Division title shot. And I don't know what the next TNA big show is, if it's another mini show like Emergence was, or if it's a big show. But depending on what that show is, maybe you do that as a match at the next TNA show.
Mm-hmm.
Millie Rose say I agree they should have been flipped. Like I said, I felt bad for Wendy and Kelani, and we'll talk about that in just a few seconds. But I wish that they had gotten that chance, because it made me sad the car was tired out for that match right after the next match. Yep.
So the next one is September 13th, Victory Road. It's like a smaller one.
Okay, that's a big one. All right. Well, no, Victory Road's one of their bigger shows.
It's
a Money in the Bank level. It's not quite a big four, but it's definitely up there. It's a yearly show. Victory Road is in September and Bound for Glory is in October. So this could be a Victory Road type show. It could fall on there. We move on, as NXT did, to the unfortunate placement of Kelani Jordan versus Wendy Choo.
Mm-hmm.
I want to first say here that Wendy Choo works a slower style that I super appreciate. I love the style of wrestling that Wendy Choo gives. It's something completely different for the women's division, because NXT has a lot of high octane, quick moving women. And I love the ability to have a Wendy Choo who almost Randy Orton's it and slows this stuff down and takes it a gear down and makes it work. The only problem with that, as much as by the way, this is Kalani's best match. However, it was noticeable here that some of these transitions that they wanted to make work weren't working as crisply as they hoped they would work. And again, that's mostly due to Kelani still being new and still getting the hang of this. And she went out there and worked tonight. She put in a lot of work. She put in a long shift, and she came out with the victory in her best match. Good for her. I loved this match, and I loved her in this match. But there's still that slight, the difference between her and Jaida Parker is growing bit by bit. And when you look at the two women's matches on this card, you can see the difference between Kelani working with Wendy and Jaida working up the card with Roxanne. There's a skill difference between the two. And I'm hoping that Jaida can get this Women's North American title sooner rather than later, because she's a star. And I think she's a great star to put that title on and let her help these girls develop. Justin, what about you?
I agree with you on a lot of that. I do think this was a mesh of styles. I do think they're a little bit different. I think the other issue is like I'm down with Wendy Choo's character, but she has to wrestle in that character a lot. And that's where the slowing it down kind of comes from, right? Like she's this insomniac, sleepy character. And, Kelani, for her credit, is a more high-flying, high energy, fast-paced wrestler. So there was difficulties in the transitions. There was all of that. But what I wanted to point out, this was the match I was talking about before we went live. I was like, I'm going to have something to say here. Because I posted about this, and I said it was a great match. From it was a good match for them. I really enjoyed it. Like you said, it was one of Kalani's best matches. She really got to show out. I had no, maybe it's just me. I had no faith that she wasn't going to retain. I knew that Kelani was going to retain. I think it's one of those situations where I'm like, I don't think this is the feud where she's losing the title yet. I don't know when it's coming, but this wasn't it. But I posted about this match and I said it was a solid match. I'm like, for what it was a solid match. I really enjoyed it. And people are like, no, that match sucked, yada, yada, yada. To that point, I want to bring something up that I think got lost over the years of NXT. Regardless of what anyone says or what anyone thinks or however it's promoted, it's still the development brand. It's still where these superstars are learning, a lot of them, especially the ones that are coming not from the wrestling world, that didn't work in the independents of TNA or AEW and else, people that are coming from athletics like gymnastics and soccer and basketball and karate and all these other sports into wrestling and learning wrestling. And I think like the wrestling fandom lost that because we went through this really cool era with a bunch of indie wrestlers like Undisputed Era and Malachi Black and Ricochet and all these guys that came in there that kind of already could go and kind of were already comfortable in a wrestling ring and could tell stories a lot quicker than a lot of the talent right now. But I think we got to realize we're back to that place where like, no, now we got people learning from rock bottom straight. I'm not saying there wasn't people then too, but there's more athletes now than there are people that came from the wrestling world now. If we're talking about it while we're watching it, like there is still a bunch of people that came from the wrestling world, but there's a lot more athletes now. And you got to be patient with them. And this is the development brand. You shouldn't go into this expecting to get the best of the best of the best, where like you're watching people learn, and you're watching them learn how to wrestle on television, and you're watching them learn how to wrestle under the WWE umbrella. It's different, so cut them a little slack. Like this was good for a match that was on NXT, you know. To your Jaida point, I think Jada's great, but Jaida was also working with a pro like Roxanne, and that's not a shot at Wendy Choo, but Roxanne's Roxanne. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Roxanne was one of those people that came in the wrestling world and was killing it on the independents before she got here too. So, you know.
Yeah, I was just saying. I just think that I think Jada's shown more in her other matches leading up to the match tonight that she's ready for that next step, and I think Kelani's still more often than not she sits on the teeter-totter where it's like some nights I really think she's ready, some nights she's a little bit back behind again. Like I said,
yeah.
I have no problem cutting her slack. I'm not sitting here and saying she's a bad wrestler.
I'm not saying it was you though. It was the people like on Twitter in the comment section.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree. Like I said, I'm going out here being like, this was her best match. She had a great time tonight. Speaking of, Millie Rose saying such unfortunate placement because that match ruled even if the few spots were odd. King Sammy jumping in makes me wonder who Kelani's going to drop the title to because Wendy would have been perfect tonight to win. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Like I said, I don't know if Wendy was the right choice, but I could have seen Wendy taking the title. It made some sense. I thought Sol would have been the first champion, but I'm not sure who in NXT can take the title off her other than Lash, Fallon, JC, Jakara. The rest aren't earning, in my opinion. Again, I go back to Jada's now has to fall down the card based on what happened later on tonight. There's a huge crop of women who are falling right back down the card, and this is about to be the most sought after title in NXT because nobody's going to want to touch that NXT Women's Championship for the foreseeable future. With Julia,
I mean, with it being Julia and Roxanne, 100%. This is the one. And that's the best thing about this title after they introduced it. Is like this is the one that's like, when you have a bunch of women on the roster, you're like, oh man, they really got nothing to chase after.
Yep. And the great thing about NXT is the NXT has always done a good job of not needing a secondary title to do it. The reason why the North American Women's Championship works is because they were telling stories beyond the Women's Championship for months and months before this title ever came to be. They have a division of women ready to have this, as I call it, the confidence booster. This isn't a title to be a champion. This is a confidence booster. Because the moment this title went on Kelani Jordan, she's changed. She's got a new light about her. She's got a brand new confidence because she believes in herself, because the company believes in her, and she has a recognition of that belief on her shoulder. And I think that's great. The NXT crowd can be absolutely brutal for literally no reason at times. Like the crowd I can at least say the crowd live wasn't bad. They were just quiet. Unfortunately, quiet tells the office something too. But again, I think this is more like we all agree. This is the office's fault more than it is the crowd's fault. Ashley, before we get to more comments, I want to go ahead and give you an opportunity to chime in on this match.
Yeah, I feel like this is, and they not only the crowd, but they also got that this is awesome champ, but it took a while for them to get it compared to most matches because it was that style. The clash of styles definitely didn't help at the beginning of the match, and that's what happened here because towards the end, when I think if I'm not mistaken, it was when Wendy did the sleeper hold because people thought like maybe that could be it for Kelani. That's when they started getting the like this is awesome chance around that time because it's when they could tell it was the end of the match and it was getting like more the height in the match. That's when you got it, and it took a while to get there, but it made it there though. And this is what I liked about this cartoon. I feel like all the matches they all got a chance somehow. It just some of them were faster than others, and this was one of them that took a while for that to happen. But again, it's like we had a match, for example, Kelani and Sol was a great match, but it's because their styles are so they mesh well together. And this one is one that it took a while for it to get there, but it got there. For me, I enjoyed the match, but it's just a matter of like, yeah, the timing of it and the clash of styles is just something that it should have worked out a little bit better than what it was tonight. I understand that point of view as well, but also like Justin said, it's like this is developmental. People have to realize that, things like this are not going to always plan out the way that we think they would. And for me, I know Wendy has a lot of experience, but she doesn't have experience, like let's say like a Roxanne, for example. And Kelani doesn't have a lot of experience. So I know that Wendy can actually carry the match in that aspect, but we'll see, depending on styles and see how that goes. And you can see there's moments that I could tell that I could see the referee when Kelani was on the post in the top rope. The referee will go to her like, "Come, you can come now," and giving her the timing there too. And you can see those little things happening in this match that you don't always get to see, but I noticed it in this one with the timing of it. But again, I feel like they did great. It's just a matter of like it took a while to get there, and I understand why as well.
And to your point, like Wendy is really experienced, but how many opportunities on a big PLE has Wendy had like this?
Yeah,
Compared to a Roxanne. Like a Roxanne walks out there, she knows exactly what she's doing, how to control the crowd, when to taunt, like the extra little details. For Wendy, this is like, when's the last time she's been in a big singles match on a PLE?
Yeah, they mentioned it have been like 2 years, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 2 or 3 years since she got one.
So I can imagine both of them going in there with a little bit of nerves. And now on top of that, when the crowd is quiet, you're probably like, while you're in the ring, right? Like,
and Millie is right. Given the right circumstances, Wendy, Karen Q can absolutely go. Remember, this is the woman who made Mei Ying work. Like that gimmick was working until she got hurt.
No, and Wendy was definitely the leader in this match. If we're gonna like say who was leading who, like Wendy was definitely the leader in this match. It's just,
King Sammy plus with Kelani. I'm not sure who. I'm not sure if you have her drop to Soul. I just don't know who else in NXT is really ready other than the women we see, unless they do a breakout tournament. This is a title you don't necessarily need women to necessarily be ready. You can really hot potato this if somebody drops the ball big. You can just keep moving this title around. But Jada's ready. Fallon's ready. JC's ready. More so than that, Nikita's coming back. Nikita will be ready. Cora Jade is in the next comment. I would love to see Cora Jade when she comes back challenge Kelani. I think she's ready. I think she'd be a good spot for that. A good spot for her because injuries keep derailing her career as well. This NXT women's division is so full of talent. You can have Brenly Reese and Carmen Petrovic and Izzy Dane continue to challenge for this championship and even win this championship because that's what's going to help develop them to see who has that it factor because this is a chance to let a title define a superstar, even for a brief moment in time. Because then you can see, all right, when given the ball, can they go? All right, they can? Cool. They can get ready and they can get the extra classes to move up to that women's championship division.
And to your point, to Ed's point, it's that old saying of like, does the title make the person or the person make the title? And in this instance, that title is able to help make a lot of people because that is true. With Kelani, once she got the belt, I remember going to that ladder match and being like, oh, this person's gonna win or that person's gonna win, or maybe I think like Ruka was like a heavy favorite. There's a couple of other people in there that were heavy favorites. And I remember I was watching that panel where they're all sitting in the ring and they were cutting promos on each other. I was like, you know what would be so wild? And I remember saying this, as if they just kind of let Kelani win because she's got like that underdog thing going on right now. And maybe this could elevate her and give her a little bit more of a presence, because everyone else already had these larger than life characters and a presence, and Kelani was there like the sweet girl, and I'm like, she needs something to like take her from sweet girl to like, oh, like she should be taken seriously, because and I think that's what it did for her, and it can do that for a lot of other people. This is gonna be their workers title. This is gonna be the stepping stone to the main title. To your point, if a person like Jaida loses to Roxanne, maybe we see her attack Kelani this week because she's mad that she lost to Roxanne. This is that belt that can either make you, right? I mean, don't be wrong. If someone like a Cora Jade wins that belt, then Cora Jade's adding prestige to that belt because Cora Jade's already Cora Jade. It's not going to make Cora Jade, but for a lot of these other women that are on the NXT roster that are improving and getting better every week, but just need that little extra push, and you want to know if they're getting a push, this belt is that push.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was gonna say, I don't think we mentioned about Tatum as well. Like she attacked Wendy right after the match ended as well. I was like, I forgot about JPO during the TNA one, so I can't forget about Tatum here.
Yeah.
It's nice to see Tatum. It's it's the anniversary of losing Daphne, and remember that this is Suicide Prevention Month. If you're having a hard time, please find somebody to talk to. That's never the answer. It's September 1st. We want to push that on all of our shows here because this channel especially is a big advocate of mental health. It's why when Mark does all these interviews, the first question is, how is your mental health and how are you doing? The reason for that is because we value the people that are here and we value, all of that. And we want to make sure that people are asking for help when they need it. And so it was nice to see Tatum, who's very often a persona of Daphne Unger. A lot of her gear is Daphne based. So it's nice to see her out there. And yes, Daphne would have been very proud of two spooky girls on a premium live event going out there and having some fun. So sorry I took that down for a bit there. I apologize. We move on to the big meaty men slapping meat match. Femi, the ruler of NXT, my baby boy, taking on Tony D'Angelo, the Dawn of NXT. Tony D'Angelo came out with the D'Angelo family. No, not. Where are they? Where did they go? There they go. Not this D'Angelo family, but the other D'Angelo.
Where is that even from?
It was. They happened to do like a Raw, and they just happened to like have a family win during a Raw. Like they like won some kind of universal contest to like move to the front row. And I just saw the D'Angelo family, and it's become a gimmick. Astrid hates
that
it.
is
She
so
rolls her eyes
funny.
every time. It's just
Don't
I
help
just
him,
keep it
Justin.
there.
Maybe they are part of the family. Maybe that's his little brother and his family. Who knows?
Maybe. But I always
maybe they won their way into that spot, you know?
So I always say not this D'Angelo family, but that D'Angelo family. But the D'Angelo family came out with Tony. Justin, what were your thoughts on the North American Championship match here?
I mean, it was good. I actually, I don't know if it's real or not. I guess we'll find out soon. But I actually thought that Tony like rolled his ankle really early on in the match. So I felt like that was my main concern. Like he'll still go into the match. I'm like, like I don't think it was really bad, but I don't. If anyone's ever actually like rolled their ankle, like sprained their ankle, or any sort of like it's happened to me. Like you can still walk and do stuff on it, but like it sucks.
You know,
so, like, yeah, like it's painful. So that's what I think happened to him, and that's where most of my concern was. Once again, I'm still in that phase of like, I don't think this or match or this was the person to dethrone Femi. So like the problem is sometimes when I go into matches like this and I'm like, oh, this feels like a filler match. That's just kind of what I felt like. I'm like, Oba's gonna win. I'm sure it'll be a good match, but that's about it, you know. Like that's literally what my thought process was, and that's exactly it was a good match. I was concerned about Tony. It was a good match, and Oba won. Oba's on it; he's unstoppable right now.
I continue to say this because it's something that so many people talk about. Femi is a monster who's unbeaten, not an unbeatable monster. And there's a very big difference between the two. This is not a monster who they go out to have 5-minute squash matches that just beats up a ton of jabronis. As they said tonight in commentary, he's 21 television matches into his career, and he's already 200 and some odd days as the North American champion. He's almost the longest reigning North American champion ever, and he's had 21 wrestling matches on television in his NXT career. He has taken this to a duck to water. He is fantastic, and as I say to everybody, and I always say it when we have guests on because I always like to pop them. He is what WWE wished Omos could be. He is that Nigerian giant that they wanted Omos to be. He can talk. He's personable. He gets it. He has that factor when he struts down to the walkway, having fun, bouncing from side to side to his music. The crowd is on his side. They love him. He's just got it. But yes, he is my boy. I love Femi. He is my sweet summer child. But I think he's done great things getting there. And again, I like the fact that on any given night, I feel like somebody could defeat Femi, but he keeps winning despite that. And that's a very important step because it's why he's so much further along than Braun Strowman was at this point in Braun Strowman's career. Because they're not feeding him jabronis. They're not feeding him jobbers. They're feeding him the top of the card and letting him get beat down more and more.
Yeah, he's having competitive matches rather than just mowing through people and having that typical we're gonna build a guy up and with squash matches. And now he's facing 3 people and he beat all 3 of them. 100%. I don't know. Like he's one of those guys where I'll also be like. He's almost in like that Walter Gunther territory of like, you don't want to see him lose. Like maybe he just wins the world title and drops this title or something. Like I don't want to see him lose because then it kind of I don't know if it's gonna lose anything for me. It won't, but it's one of those situations.
Yeah. Brainbuster definitely has it right, at least in my mind. He has future world champion written all over him. I agree. Millie Rose, he has so much charisma. Vic Joseph was on fire tonight. Vic had some really good ones on commentary tonight. Even Booker didn't get as annoying as Booker normally does. He had some stuff, but not as annoying as he normally does.
Yeah.
Ashley, what did you think of the North American Championship match here?
Yeah, this was one of those, like, just to say, like, this is the best way to describe it. It was like a filler. As much as I like Tony, I didn't think of what was going to lose tonight. If it maybe would have been somebody else, maybe it would have been. But this has such a short, like, build up to it that it made me think, like, it wasn't going to happen with this one. So that was my main thought process here. Opa look, like always, he looks like $1,000,000. You know, he took out half of the family, except for Rizzo outside, and still took out Tony as well. I was like, dude is a monster. He's a machine. I don't know who they're gonna pick to defeat him, because that will be a huge shocker when it does happen. Though that's the thing that's gonna happen here. But again, I already knew that it wasn't gonna be tonight. Unfortunately, sorry, Tony. I wish it would have been, but it wasn't your night. But no, overall, just I feel like he keeps showing out. He keeps showing growth. And it was just amazing to watch him grow from what, like you said, from flipping a couch to what we see here tonight. And even then, just thinking of like he could grow even more, because he's just at the beginning of it all here.
I think I continue to say this again, and I think Javon Evans. I think eventually, Javon Evans is that name to defeat him. A guy that he might overlook, a guy he might not take seriously enough. And I think Javon is in that position where they're going to want to push him. And I think that there's a fun way to be able to have him kind of sneak a win on Obafemi, and Oba be, super pissed about it, but not ruin Obafemi in the process. And wrestling trope, big, massive, big guy always lose to itty bitty guy size of an ant, because big guy overtake, just like big guys love their kryptonite to be the stale stairs. Little guys always seem to end big guys' reigns. We've got writer extraordinaire Corey Michaels jumping in. The only person that's going to beat Obafemi for that title is another Obafemi cloned in a laboratory.
I was laughing at that comment. I can see it on the side here. I was like, that's actually really funny.
Chris Perez says match of the night. I mean, it was up there for me. It was until I saw what came next. It was definitely my match of the night. Millie Rose, between Bronson and Tatum and others just taking out people for who knows what. We're going to run out of people. Yeah, don't worry. WWE is going to go ahead and hire a whole bunch more. It's okay. Hopefully we get the Dancing Man soon. I'm hoping for the Dancing Man. So hopefully the Dancing Man from AEW comes over soon once he finishes with MJF and All Out. My hopes are going down week by week on that one, but I want the Dancing Man. Because I want the Dancing Man to go back to being really good professional wrestler and not Dancing Man.
You mean before he became a sports entertainer with the Jericho Appreciation Society?
Yes. I would say, for anybody who's confused about who I'm talking about Daniel Garcia. Because I'm calling him the Dancing Man, and I'm sure people are like, who the fuck is the Dancing Man?
I was going to say, let's go like this. A lot of people are not going to know.
I'm like Fandango, the Honky Tonk Man. Who are we talking about here? Disco Inferno's coming back. What are we doing?
Oh, no. Not that one.
I wonder if they might have him pull a Keith Lee and just have Oba win the NXT title while still being like Justin said, that's a very possible option for Obafemi to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I now that you say, like, I like your Javon Evans prediction. Like, that's a solid one. It has to either make somebody or it has to be someone as big as him. It's one of the other, right? Or like, a tough guy, because that's what they always do with Gunther. It was like an Ilya Dragunov, or like a really strong guy, you know what I mean, that could take a beating. That was the guy that beat him. I'm not saying that like Tony D'Angelo's not tough guy, but he's not presented that way. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if Braun Breaker was still there. Yeah, Josh Briggs. He
comes back from Japan, I think is a good viable option.
Or like if a Braun Breaker was still there, like if someone that's considered being like, oh, he's just as strong, he's just as powerful. This could be like his kryptonite. But then a small guy that always tells the best stories, right? Like that's always the most fun to see, is the big guy underestimating the small guy, and then getting caught.
Chris Parrish bringing up a fun thing that I did notice. How much you guys all think of Femi ripping the Velcro off the title when he came down the ring ramp? At one point, he pulls the title off of his waist, and the Velcro's still there, and he just rips the Velcro off, the extra strip of Velcro, and threw it away. Millie Rose says, "Took me a second, but I quickly realized who you were talking about." Yes, the Dancing Man. But we move on from talking about the Dancing Man and my beautiful, beautiful Obafemi. We move on to talking about the wonderful women putting on the NXT Women's Championship match. Astrid, we're going to go ahead and let you glow wonderfully about your wonderful favorite superstar. Roxanne Perez defeats Jaida Parker.
What can I say? This woman she's telling you what she's going to do, and she's bringing it to the table, whatever she's going to do. She's telling you who's going to beat me. Jada's another victim falling down to the Roxanne Perez reign here. I just loved it, the fact that she's able to tell such a wonderful story in this match, because at first Jaida does have control in this match, so you're like, oh, maybe this is going to be a little bit different. But then I think Roxanne did realize, and they pointed out during commentary around the same time, that she already had taped around the ribs and her ribs area. So just the fact that Roxanne came and started just taking her out in the steel steps any way that she could. Yes, I'm fangirling. Any way that she could in the steel steps, and thinking of the way she carried it over. I like the fact that she did one of Jada's moves in the corner and just walked off and mocked her the way she did. I was like, that was wonderful. Like, he had work out of her, and I love that she was able to concentrate in one body part the way she did, and not letting her go through with it. We did have moments that Jaida did had like I want to say that a moment of power kind of came through, and she shut off a little bit here and there. By Roxanne's like, not on my watch, not when I'm here, at least. I did like the pop rocks outside that she did on the mat by the announcers there as well, and even doing it inside the ring. But again, I feel like even in Lost, Jaida looked like a superstar. She looked so great in this match, and I'm like, that this is exactly what we wanted the match to be. And I feel like they both delivered in here. The only thing I would say is like I would have done with this being the main event only and mainly because Julia came out, because I feel like I would have swapped it, because I feel like this was more important than what happened in the main event. Even with everything happening in the main event, don't get me wrong, I love Ethan, I love Joe, I love Trick. But again, I would have swapped this and put this as the main event, because the way that the presentation that we got out of Julia, the way that the lights turned off, the music, the hair, and everything, the way she looked, she just screamed superstar. She really did. So I'm like, if you hadn't seen Julia before and this is your presentation of her, look at how they presented her towards us here at NXT. And she looked great. And I like that moment of, like I had said it before in a previous show, the fact that we get Roxanne looking a little bit scared and hugging that championship a little bit too tight to her chest because she doesn't want it to go away. But then once Julia is right in face to face with her, she gets a little confidence boost of like, I am the champion. So seeing that, this is what I wanted to see out of them when they presented Julia. So I feel like they did it exactly how I pictured it.
This is my first time live streaming this on Instagram for you all and sharing this show. But we have Brian Clark, formerly known as Wrath, or Adam Bomb in the WWE, saying good evening to everyone in the Instagram live stream. So if you guys are watching over there, say what's up to good old WCW WWF legend Brian Clark of Chronic and formerly known as Wrath and Adam Bomb. I love this match. I'm a Roxanne mark too, so I'm gonna fangirl a little bit too. I have nothing but appreciation and love for Roxanne. She's been super dope towards me and the page. And I was an AJ Lee fan. She gives me a lot. Like, she's like her mother. So this, I knew it was gonna be a banger regardless. Jada's dope. This is Jada's moment. Everything about Jada's been cool. She's found a way to stand out real fast. They started doing these video packages for her about being a soccer player. She is no longer a soccer player. She is a professional wrestler, and she's good at it. And she knows how to have this presence and all this. This was what a lot of people would say a sink or swim moment for Jaida. This was putting her in a big match to see if she could hang and test the waters, and she did exactly that. I think, and especially, and there was someone like a Roxanne who had talked to him about that. I'm like, has there ever been tension? I'm like, you tell me from your time, is there tension between like the wrestlers that come from the wrestling world and the athletes that come from the athletes world? And he's like, absolutely. Even back when I was in NXT, because they want to make sure you're not here just to get on TV or be famous or get some clout or things didn't work out with you in the athletic thing that you transitioned to wrestling because they gave you an opportunity. Like there's tension there at the beginning, but once you prove that you want to be there and you work hard and you prove yourself that you love this or you've learned to love this, then cool. And I think that's something that Jaida did today. She proved to everybody that she's learned to love this and she wants to be a professional wrestler. She wants to be the NXT Women's Champion, and she's here to not just be on TV or be famous or get that wrestling clout or whatever. Like, she's here because she wants to be the best at this, and that was super cool. And she proved it against someone who takes this very seriously, and that is Roxanne Perez. Julia is dope. And I think when she walked out, and I heard this recently because people were complaining about Julia's hair at one of these Marigold events, and I had to read that someone was like, dude, she changes her look all the time. This is nothing new. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, dope. I didn't know that, because my first look at Julia was obviously a good friend with Mariah May. We go way back. And when Mariah was in Stardom, I would try to watch all of her matches. And she told me how big of a deal it was for her to wrestle this woman named Julia. And I watched the match, and it was really good. But that was my first time seeing Julia. I've watched a bit more Julia since then, since the rumors have been going on. And this chick is a beast. Like, she's dope. I'm excited to see where it goes. I think this is what everyone expected, where she was going to come and confront Roxanne. Like, that was just all the trash talking Roxanne's been doing for months about nobody can touch me and I can beat everyone and everybody's got a story, but I still beat them. Like, this is like, she's been wrestling a lot of the upcoming women in NXT. A lot of the women that, Ed earlier said could probably go for that North American title. Here's a real test for Roxanne on this reign that she hasn't really had yet. And the Julia, who's established, who's from the wrestling world, who isn't learning this from the bottom. She's from scratch. She knows this. It's. I think it's got everybody a little excited, especially with all the trash talking Roxanne's been doing for the last year.
I just want to say, for anybody on Instagram who might be commenting, the only person who can see that is Justin. Unfortunately, our backend does not give me the Instagram comments. So I'm not, for any of you who are like, oh, he's showing all these comments and not showing mine. I can't see any of the Instagram comments. I apologize. That's a good
point. I tried looking at that too. I'm like, you can't.
Yeah, I was like, I can't see the Instagram comments. I'm not skipping you people, I promise. I'm glad you're here. I hope you're commenting. Hopefully Justin can relay some of those. If you can, if you want, jump on over to Justin's YouTube channel to go ahead and give him the views and comment there. I can definitely see those. But I just wanted to make sure people knew. I'm not skipping comments.
No. He can't, guys. I've been jumping over there and looking every now and then, but that's all. That's the only reason I brought that one up. So, and to the last point, it should have been the main event, 100%. Once this match was over and went to the main event, I was like, oh, I kind of cared about the last match a little bit more. But,
So Millie is correct. Having two Roxanne fangirling moments here
Wait, do you not like Roxanne?
No, like is such a strong word. I respect Roxanne Perez out. I don't like heel Roxanne. I don't think Roxanne's a good heel. I think Roxanne is a fantastic babyface.
That's fair. That's a fair argument.
I still don't buy heel Roxanne. I love Roxanne. I think Roxanne is a fantastic competitor. I think she's in the ring, she's solid. But also, Booker T is at his most unstable when Roxanne is in the ring. So, yes, Millie is having a whole bunch of fun with me.
We need a situation where Booker T helps Roxanne win a match inadvertently.
No, not inadvertently, on purpose. I want to see him purposely help her win a match. I think that'd be hysterical.
And then have to serve a punishment from Ava, and then have to do something. But that would be so funny. You tried to interfere in a Roxanne match, now you have to referee the next one and call it right down the middle, or you're fired, or something, some sort of
Yeah. We also have a couple other comments in here. Roxanne versus Julia needs the main event, Halloween Havoc. Absolutely, 1000%. Another Brainbuster's a big Roxanne fanboy. Oh boy, I'm in trouble.
I think he was talking about Justin.
Oh, okay. No,
Roxanne's dope. I understand the heel thing. I understand the heel thing because she is more of a natural baby face. I get it.
I have a gimmick on the show. I was a big fan of Mandy Rose's run, and with Roxanne ending Mandy Rose's run, I've been harsh.
Oh,
gimmick, playing up the gimmick for the people. Jaida had a best match, but now it's time for the NXT Women's title, the title people want to talk about. Yeah, I mean, like I said,
I think with all the younger women coming up, like Roxanne had to be the OG heel. I think all the new women in NXT is what turned her heel in my mind. Because when Lyra just came in, and then Lyra just had the skyrocket to the top, if I was a Roxanne or a Cora Jade, I'd be like, no, this is my house. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, Millie popping in, like going into one of your biggest matches of your career, knowing you're going to lose, knowing it's a highly anticipated debut is about to happen is a lot of pressure. Yes, and Jaida, the diamond that she is, did everything she needed to do to be an absolute star. Tony's tones, she stepped up her game. She
no pouty face, no coming out there looking like she knew she was going to lose, just reining it in, knowing that it wasn't going to be her moment. This was her sink or swim moment, so she proved herself.
She came out there looking like she was winning the championship. Like when she was doing her shoulder thing, when she's getting in the ring and they're introducing her, like she did everything that she does on a night-to-night basis.
Okay, let me ask you guys this, and this is mainly for Astrid then. With Julia coming to NXT, right? Now Julia's in NXT.
17, not 3, buddy, just so you know. 17.
Now that Julia's coming to NXT, if she ends up defeating Roxanne or whatever, do we see Roxanne hit up the main roster by after WrestleMania?
I feel like she should. I feel like something should have happened this year, but I understand that there was also a gap that she needed to fill in NXT as well, especially after the draft. So I do feel like around that like Royal Rumble, WrestleMania season, I feel like she definitely gets called up.
It was between her and Lyra, and I think that they made a nice choice bringing up Lyra. But if it were me, I would have brought up Roxanne and let Lyra kind of linger here and do the Roxanne thing.
Well, no, yeah. But I'm like, I don't know. Like, what is Lyra doing right now, anyways? I mean, it's probably good that Roxanne's chilling down and actually the world champ right now.
But I think Roxanne's booking would have been vastly different than what Lyra Valkyria is doing.
Fair.
Julia's very good. I've been watching her on Stardom for a while, and then on Marigold. Roxanne's heel work is better. No. Roxanne's
heel work is better than whose?
Wesley.
The only thing I can't buy with Roxanne's heel work, this if I'm going to be transparent, because I'm a Roxanne fan, I like is obviously she's a great wrestler. She's always going to be a great wrestler. Her promos sometimes feel a little not authentic because it sounds like her saying a promo like a heel than actually just being a heel. And I think that's probably what Ed's problem is. And that's just, maybe it's just, she's not fully comfortable as a heel yet. Maybe. I don't know. It gives me and also it just sounds too AJ Lee-ish sometimes than being mother. Roxanne as a heel. It's very mother. Trying to be daughter, trying to be like mother, than just trying to be like a Roxanne heel,
Yeah.
They're not cringe. They're not that bad, but they're not. I don't feel it from her, and most importantly, I hate it when she's like, "I don't care about what you fans." Yes, you do. You love the fans. You love all about the fan. You were the fan standing on the other side of the ring with Natalya, like that old Natalya feud that she had. I'm like, no, I don't buy any of this. Because we have video footage of you being a babyface, little itty bitty fangirl for Natalya on Total Divas. But no, I love Roxanne. I think she's great. We have a whole bunch of comments here for Roxanne. They're all talking about how great it is that Roxanne did. Roxanne is good, but she's naturally likable. I cheered for her either way. And now we got to know one that's been NXT winning the championship until this time of year. No, I don't think Julia is going to have this massive reign because I don't think she's here long. I think she's not going to be one of this Asuka, 400-day reigns. Julia's here for a short time, not a long time. She's here for a good time, not a long time. She's going to be. I would expect Julia on the main roster post Stand and Deliver. I think Stephanie is the one that we have to worry about having a long title reign with that championship. Because I think she's here for a lot longer than Julia is. Because I think Julia is moving up that card real fast and onto that main roster.
I was wondering where you're getting. I'm like, do you think she's leaving? You think it's like some short-term contract?
No.
Like,
no. I think she's.
I was like, what are we talking about him? Okay, I get it. You think? Okay, yeah. I think hey,
stopgap.
I think you have a point, but I also think it's not. I think she's gonna be there till maybe next summer. I think there's a lot of, hey, we're gonna have to teach you the WWE way. We're gonna have to teach you how we do things around here. Hey, before we just bring you and throw you on the road with that road schedule, let's let you settle into America properly. Yeah. Let's get you in the performance center. Let's test you. You know what I mean? Let's test you on promos. Let's test you on a character. Because a lot of the things that I noticed about transitioning from Japan to America is over there, it's not very character heavy. Yes, they have characters. I'm not saying they don't have characters, but their matches aren't always based off of storylines in a character and you having to feel empathetic for a character in the story. It's about the fighting spirit and just, you know, kicking each other's butt and strong and that type of stuff, right? Competitiveness. That's why when AEW said they wanted to be a sports-based company trying to be like Japan, they realized you can't do that in North America with weekly television where people are trying to follow along with stories and characters and get invested in that. You can do that over there, and really hardcore wrestling fans that like that kind of wrestling are going to tune in from here. But if you're trying to cater to the fans here, like, you got to be able to do those things. I think they did that with Io. I think they did that with Asuka. You know, they built them up on NXT where they had, like, Asuka was this killer. She couldn't be stopped. Io became this badass, won the NXT title, had a good reign, went to the main roster. Now everyone knows that Io's a threat, you know? You build them in NXT, you take them to the main roster. They tried doing it with Shinsuke. I think they dropped the ball at that WrestleMania. Was that when he didn't beat AJ? But at the end of the day, I think as much as, like, she's ready for the main roster in terms of, like, can she wrestle? For sure. Is she ready for the main roster in every other aspect? I think that's where she's got to be in NXT for a minute.
Yeah, and like I said, that's where I think it's that 9 to 12 month thing. Like, I use WrestleMania as a jumping off point because that's where, like, the season starts again shortly after Mania, and I'm like, if we go from here, we go to Mania, we're talking 6 to 8 months. You know, just over 6 months. I think that's a good is she ready barometer. We get 6 months of her, you know, making sure she can cut the promos we want, making sure she can find the hard cam like we want. Because that's what NXT is for a lot of these big name talents is, you know, make sure we know what your promo style is, make sure we know you can find our hard cam and do the TV the way we need you to do. And this isn't coming from me. This is coming from interviews like with the interviews that this guy has, talking to talent who have come and gone, being like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. Samoa Joes and people like that.
And being live TV ready, like live TV ready. Because like there's the whole idea of like, I'm going to use Kelani, for instance, because everyone's giving her a little flack today, right? Or even Jaida, it was like her first big match, right? If anything went wrong in these matches, people will let it slide a bit, right? Like, you know what I mean? It's a lot of people that watch Raw and SmackDown aren't really watching NXT every week, or probably didn't even watch this PLE. So they're not seeing a lot of these things, right? You can get away with them. Then you get to the main roster and Twitter's on your ass. Every mistake you make is they're ready to call it out. And you gotta have that thing that they don't teach you unless you're on live TV every week of like, if something doesn't go as planned, can you improvise on the spot? That's something you need to be taught. That's something you need to get comfortable with. You can't freeze. It'll be very obvious if something bad happens and you freeze, you know, because you don't know what to do. And then you gotta understand, like, I don't know, right? So this is just me. I don't know. I don't know how well Julia's English is. I haven't really ever heard her talk.
Fairly so. Okay.
So the communication too, right? Because if something bad does happen and you need to improvise, but you can't communicate with each other, just all the things they probably need to test out with it, right? Like
Anthony Pellegrino jumping in. I guess Cora Jade will go after the. Yeah, I think that's a perfect spot for Cora Jade. I think it's a title that she can add some prestige to. She can give it some prestige when she gets it, and plus it'll give her a nice little fallback option to have her be, you know, that one and only. Millie Rose jumping in. Wrestling is a universal language, yes, but not everybody speaks the same language, especially like we know some of these younger talents, like he's talking about, a Kelani, a Jaida, Kendall Gray, Brindley Reese. Some of these younger talents who are coming over, you know, Jasmine Nix, they don't speak that universal language just yet. So that's why NXT is good for everybody, so they can all figure that out. Oh, my buddy Van Pelt. I want Cora Jade and Roxanne to team up with you.
That has to happen. It sucks that she got injured. It has to happen.
No.
I need. Here we go. Fantasy booking time with the classic. I need Roxanne to be facing Julia, and Julia about to be Roxanne, and bam, Cora.
No, Justin, no.
Stopping Julia from beating Roxanne. And then it's like, no, they're together again. It's like the mega powers. They're just like,
we got Anthony Pellegrino jumping over for Justin saying, I love your content.
Thank you. But no, seriously. Thank you, Anthony. But like seriously, that's like, dude, I asked Roxanne about it at the WWE junket. I'm like, does this mean you guys are cool again? We see the TikToks. We know there's like a frenemy thing going on. What is better? Like, you remember when like Randy Orton and Edge got together and Rated RKO first happened? It was just like two people that hated John Cena and DX so much. Like, let's do this. When you have a common enemy, two bad people can come together, and the common enemy is gonna be Julia.
Two people that aren't good heels, both being together as heels. I love it. I go side.
Oh my god!
They can be named the bad heels. That's a nickname.
There we go. The bad heels. Book it. We've booked it. It would be so good. Oh,
you know what is good? This is the one, and I hate to say this because I respect it like both of them, but Roxanne and Cora both just hardcore give me like Disney Channel kids. You know what I mean? So it's like they're like the bad girls on Disney Channel.
They are indeed. And with that, none of us can top that. We're gonna move on to the NXT's idea of what a main event was. It wasn't the idea of what any of us thought the main event should have been, considering we had a massive debut. But Ethan Page defeated Joe Hendry. Shocker. Ethan Page defeated Joe Hendry. Now, I will say that earlier in the night, Ava did have a backstage segment where she gave us no update on Andre Chase, except that he's in the hospital. Mm-hmm. Nice that she used the word hospital too. I like that. No more medical centers. We had a hospital, which was nice. She announced the triple threat tag team match for the number one contendership on NXT. And she also announced that on the October 1st show, whoever wins the title tonight will be defending that title. Now, I have had for some time a fantasy booking going out there months ago that Joe Hendry was going to win the NXT Championship on the first show on the CW. Because WWE loves to do a massive title change on these new shows for new networks. Kofi Kingston and Brock Lesnar.
I know, I was so sad thinking about that right now. I didn't think you were going to bring it up.
Yep. Oh, no. That was very sad. Remember, it was all in service of like a Cain Velasquez. I think what better way to seal this partnership than to have the top title in the company being on the trusted shoulders of somebody from TNA. It doesn't have to be a long one. He can lose it at Halloween Havoc. But you go through then an entire cycle of TNA tapings in October and NXT shows in October with Joe Hendry having the NXT Championship. It shows the faith in both brands to properly take care of a top championship. I think it's a great idea. And I think it's happening because of the way this match ended with Trick getting knocked out for a bit and then stopping the referee and making sure to count Ethan's pin. I think that we're going to get to that. Joe gets a rematch. And it's Joe Hendry versus Ethan Page, one-on-one in Chicago with CM Punk on the outside, making sure nothing shady happens. And Joe Hendry wins the NXT Championship there. Asher doesn't like the idea because I came up with it. But I thought this match was okay. These guys went out there and performed the best that they could, but they were following a really good match of the night. They were following an amazing debut of a top star that should have just ended the night. It was fun.
This has been an NXT problem since the early days of NXT, though. Like going back to the early takeovers, is that the shows are so good that by the time you get to the main event, kind of already drained, and it's not on the competitors. I always take it back to like, hey, a lot of people, I know, I'm sure the three of us do, but for a lot of people, they don't remember what happened after Sasha, Bayley, and Brooklyn. Like what was I mean? Like what was the main event of that show? It's a problem with a lot of these NXT events where like it's just the main event sometimes suffers because so much good stuff happens throughout the card. And this was one of those cases. Joe Hendry's over. Joe Hendry's been over. Joe Hendry's still over. I don't know how long this Joe Hendry overness is gonna last, but it's still here. Ethan Page is the good heel champion. But the one thing I noticed right off the get-go when he walked out is that Trick Williams is still super over. So unfortunately, Ed, I almost think they might put the title back on Trick on that CW premiere.
Maybe. It's very possible.
With Punk being involved or something. And I do think Ethan Page gets it back, but I just think I don't know if they're ready to put the belt. But Joe did say he's going to be around a lot more. He did say that. It's not like a short-term thing with NXT, but
Joe's signing a contract here at his earliest opportunity. Like, this is the reason why Jordan Grace and Joe Hendry are getting the treatment they're getting is because they're going to be signed as soon as physically possible if they so choose.
Yeah. I don't know. I would love to see that though. Like I'm down for you. I really am. I think that would be super cool. Like I said, I was thrown off by Zachary Wentz even getting a victory tonight because he's a TNA guy. So for that to happen, like I would be really like surprised. And for a short reign, and I don't think it's harmful for a short reign. If Joe wins it and then loses it, either to like Ethan and Trick in a triple threat or something where Trick wins it back or something following at Halloween Havoc, sure, that would be wild. So I could see that happening. I don't know. One thing I took away from this is that Trick is still like the guy more than anybody else in this. I was like, because if you think about it, like who are the top guys in NXT? Like who's the top baby face? It's Trick. And I was like, oh, like more so than even Joe Hendry got a pop today, Trick got a pop. Another thing that I was shocked about that was just kind of like fun for wrestling fans to hope happened, but didn't happen was the appearance of Josh Alexander getting in the mix. That didn't happen. I was hoping that when that ref bump happened, I was like, oh, it's going down. It didn't, but that's okay.
Astrid?
Yeah, just the only thing I would have done definitely would have switched these two because like I was saying, the match was okay. Is more about the moments of like Trick counting and then Ethan being that was a 3. He's like, no, that was a 2. And then Trick, like there was a moment, I think it was Ethan's foot was on the ropes and he's kind of like the 2 count for Joe. And Joe thinks he's almost got it when Trick notices like, no, the foot's on the rope, can't do it. And there's so many little moments like that to me also when the whole thing with Trick happened and the second referee, I totally missed that part. From it happened so quickly, I totally missed it. So by the time I came back, I'm like, where did this referee come from? Why is Trick coming in here? And all of a sudden, I was so lost. But there's moments that I also love Joe Hendry doing the Eagle's Edge. I didn't know towards the beginning of the match, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like that was brilliant to watch as well. But even as I love all these guys in the ring here, I feel like definitely that debut made the women's match a little bit more important and highlighted than this one. That's the only part. That's what I would have switched some in that aspect. But again, it was like I feel like we do have a title change coming for the CW debut. Is something that WWE likes to do for those like season premieres, as we like to call them, just to get people like talking about it when the premiere is happening as well. So whoever is champion, I don't know, but I do feel like that title change is coming that same night as well. I mean, I would have loved that if Josh came in too, especially after everything at Emergence too. I feel like that would have been great to see, but we'll have to wait.
2 things that you did point out there. One, I was watching with a group of friends who were talking during it, and that's 100% true. At least 2 people were like, I've never seen a referee come out that fast after a bump. Like how? Yeah. That's like a ref got out there so quickly. They never send out referees that fast after a bump.
No.
And then 2, this was just me being me and getting annoyed, like as a wrestling fan should, that suspended their disbelief. When Joe Hendry hit his finish and Trick counted the 2 because his foot was under the rope, I'm like, just roll him over and hit him again. Why are you fighting with Trick? Pick him up and hit him with it again. Like, what are we doing? We're just wasting time here. And then I realized, I'm like, I know it's part of the story for him to like get distracted. But I was like, what are we doing? Like, you could just like pull them away in 1, 2, 3. Like, where's the logic? Where's the logic in this? Like,
but the Contreras saying until the sneak attack by Pete Dunne making me, I knew it. Yeah, I thought Dunne was coming out earlier. That was another thing that I did too. I thought he was coming out during the match to cancel out Trick.
Yeah.
I was very surprised when it was a clean finish and Trick legitimately counted for Ethan. I'm like, all right, that makes sense. Now where's Pete? Because he promised Trick wasn't going to make it. I'm like, one bitter end is going to make Trick not make it to Tuesday? Come on, Pete. You're better than that. Snap a couple fingers at least if you're going to say that. Trick winning back the NXT title and Cora Jade finally making her return. There's your big moment for the season. I mean, it's
Cora Jade making her return, attacking Julia to help Roxanne.
I think I'm with you on Cora Jade doing a lot of things at that show. But the one thing she has to do on camera, because she's done it on social before, she needs to come out during Daddy's promo. During Punk's promo that he's going to inevitably cut on that Chicago show. I think she needs to come out during that to make her debut. I think that's where she comes back.
Do you think they have Punk be the guy there for a contract signing between Julia and Roxanne?
I can see that.
And then Cora Jade comes out and helps Roxanne beat up Julia.
Now we need a tag match or a fatal 4-way.
And then Punk just turns heel and raises both their arms up to you. I'm joking.
We got Vinitude Art coming in here with the clans in the air. Thank you, Get the Tables, for giving us a cheer for 100. I appreciate that. I'm assuming we also have probably a raid from you that I haven't been able to see because I don't have the back ends up. It's been a busy night tonight. I apologize. But if you haven't checked out Get the Tables, please go ahead and check them out. They do watch-alongs for all WWE and AEW big shows, so make sure you catch them. They're on all the time. It'll be a big thing. You can go enjoy that community. We need a better match until 2025. Give me John Cena versus Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry wants it. Joe Hendry says it's going to happen. We'll wait and see. Can we have AJ instead of AJ wannabe? I mean, God. I want AJ to come back just like everybody else.
That's her mother. It's not you. He does not want to be like that. It's genetics. It's genetics, people. It's just genetics. Like, come on. You can't help it.
Guys, Get the Table says, seeing how the title match ended, do you see Hendry and Paige still happening? I still do because I want to be right, but Justin makes a lot of sense and a lot of logic that it sounds like it might be a Trick thing. I think Trick makes a lot more sense personally. I think it makes more sense, but
I think it could be a triple threat. I see it being a triple threat match, but I think you ending that show with them all chanting "whoop that Trick" on CW Network.
Hey,
that's when they're the loudest. They're the loudest, and they're like, "Whoop that Trick!" Like, if that's how you end the first show, then maybe you'll get some new viewers to be like, "Oh, I'm gonna tune into this next week." You know.
Personally, I'd have Fatal Influence cutting the promo, and then Cora shows up. JC and Jasmine turn on Fallon. No, we don't need to. Fallon fits in the group. We need to replace Jasmine. Jasmine is the missing link in the
Jasmine. But no, it is funny with Jasmine because it's like they're talking about hating the rookies and she's a rookie, but they're like she's like the one rookie we like. There's nothing humorous about like no, but she's okay. She kissed our butt, so like she fits, but everyone else sucks.
I know, I get it. I get it. I've been fighting with it. I don't even like saying the name. I call them the Terrible Trio because I just don't want them on my screen. But
do you feel like they're trying to like remake Toxic Attraction? Is that why it bothers you?
Yes, absolutely.
You're a big Mandy fan.
Yeah.
I was. They've been trying to remake Toxic Attraction for JC Jane since Mandy left.
Yeah, I feel like JC Jane has like done her time on the NXT too. I think she could just move up.
I think she. Yeah. I do too.
Yeah, not like I don't like. Maybe she could move up, be in the tag division, find a partner or something. But like, she just like because the main roster is not they're good at it sometimes, but they're not the greatest at having like secondary, third feuds on their shows. But she would fit up there. Yeah.
Look at Kiana James on Raw.
Yeah, she's been killing it. She's been killing it. It's been tremendous.
On backstage segments, making sure that Adam Pearce has food.
Yeah. Like they couldn't even make her an assistant for Adam Pearce or anything. They're just like, we're just not going to use her. We're just not going to use her.
They told the story. They're like, nope, we're just not going to do it. I'm like, oh. They should have never. First, they should never got rid of Mandy, and then after they decided that they had to do the first one, then they should never split up JC and Gigi. They should have gone right to the main roster as Toxic Attraction, as women's tag team champions. I think Fallon fits as a heel. I don't think she fits in a group. I don't mind her as a heel because her whole point of getting out of the Briggs Jensen Fallon group was, I want to go on my own and do my own thing. First thing she does, she goes out on her own and does her own thing. Find new friends.
Like, well, my whole thing is like, it's just the problem with her and JC both being in the group is this would be better in a sense if it was Fallon and 2 rookies that kissed her butt. Whereas like when she's in it, like it kind of makes Fallon the leader in a weird way. But it's hard to think of Fallon that way when JC's got seniority, has been there longer, has accomplished quite a bit. Because then it's like, well, immediately then JC's the leader. This is almost like the Judgment Day issue where like Damian and Rhea had to kick out Edge. It's almost like Fallon and Jasmine are gonna have to kick out JC or something. Yeah. To like really make this work and get like another rookie that's like, yeah, F the other rookies to join them, you know?
We got Brother Contreras company in. Come on, people, it's already too late. If anyone needs Cora Jade, say no. But Julia's making me smoking gun. I don't know, but I mean, Julia's here. Julia versus Roxanne is written in the stars. I like the idea of Cora Jade. It doesn't make the most sense, but I don't hate it. I think it's plus just to see Astrid would be fun.
I just want to point out, shout out to Liar Valkyria who's in the live stream briefly here on Instagram. Caroline Sped from Sportsnet who was briefly in the live stream. I don't go live on Instagram that often anymore, but everyone was just kind of popping in and popping out. It hasn't been a consistent viewership. They're probably like, what is going on here? But if you're still in here, Lyra, hello. But yeah.
We love the work you're doing on Monday nights. Hopefully the party girls come back so we can put you on TV again. I believe Lyra is going to be in the women's speak stuff coming up on X starting this Wednesday.
Is it this Wednesday? That's so soon.
It starts this Wednesday because they just had and yes, Millie Rose is confirming she is in that tournament. They've been doing the thing. Andrade just had his match with Pete Dunne on Friday. So this Wednesday they're promoting the women's tournament. His first women's tournament's going to start. So that'll be a whole bunch of fun.
I agree.
But
it'll be fun.
This has been a fun show, Justin. You have been an incredible guest. And again, for those on Instagram, we are not ignoring you. The only person who can see your comments is Justin, and it's a lot to do. So, but
yeah, it's my first time. My first time streaming this way, off streaming to everybody live. I should maybe try doing this in the future. This is actually pretty cool. Thank you guys for having me. And I'd love to come back on in the future. This is a good time.
Absolutely. But before you go, before anybody leaves, we want to make sure we go ahead and let Justin shout out his stuff. So it's been scrolling on the bottom of the screen the whole time, but go ahead and, for everybody, tell them what you got going on.
If you aren't already, follow me on Instagram at The Wrestling Classic. You can follow me on Twitter, TWC Worldwide. I also have a TikTok at The Wrestling Classic. The biggest thing right now is subscribe to my YouTube channel. We're almost at 10K subscribers. It's my fault that I hadn't been consistent with it till like this year. I was like posting an interview or two a month and like not doing anything else. But we're posting shorts, we're posting clips, we're doing more. So make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel. And just check out everything on The Wrestling Classic, the Instagram page. It's up for it. Also make sure to go support there. Check out Rain City Toys. Go to 500 level. Get you guys NXT wrestling merchandise. All your favorite NXT. I helped create a Dakota Kai shirt that's up there. We're working on an Ariana Grace shirt for her because she hasn't had a shirt yet. Does anybody else you think there's a wrestler of yours that you really like and they do not have a t-shirt on WWEshop.com yet and you want them to have a t-shirt, you want to rep their merch, hit me up, let me know. I'll work with my designers. We'll try to get them a shirt. We'll get it on 500 level. It's officially licensed by WWE. You see some of their merch on WWE Shop. You don't see all of it. So you have to go to their website, 500level.com, and go back, check this shit out. Stuff out. My bad.
If you want to find 500 level and all that kind of stuff, linktr.ee/The Wrestling Classic. That will take you to all the links for all of Justin's great work, including his most recent interview with Kayla Beckler that he just did, formerly Kayla Braxton, going ahead and teasing some of the opportunities that she's got coming up because she wouldn't even tell Justin all the fun things. That
and if you are an NXT fan, I've done really in-depth interviews with Carmen Petrovic, Kelani Jordan's on there. I did some fun stuff back in the day in 2020. Did a really good interview with Ariana Grace. We had a little fun one recently where she abandoned the show and canned me because her washing machine broke or something like that.
I remember that.
I've had interviews with Carmelo Hayes. So like if the NXT fans here, like I've talked to Roxanne a couple of times. So go check out all those interviews in the past. They're all evergreen, because what I try to do with a lot of the NXT stars is let them tell their story from before wrestling to how they got into wrestling, how things are going for them now. It's not really always about current storylines and current feuds. So check those out.
Misfit Wrestling Podcast over on your YouTube channel says Bozella said Roxy is screwed. Well, yeah, Roxy's in the sightlines of Julia. I would assume she's in for some rough days. But Astrid, we got some people here before we get out of here. Tell the people where they can find you and what you've got coming up this week.
I mean, you can find it on my YouTube channel on OLEs. We have the predictions with Miss Thickums, aka Miss T. So if you haven't ever seen that, go watch that there as well. I mean, for me, there's not much aside from doing Tuesday again and taking over with Ed. We do have some things in the works for hopefully some TNA coverage coming up soon in OLE. So we'll keep you updated on that end of it. But other than that, you can find me on my Twitter and Blue Skies, astridpizarro, and my Instagram and Threads, astridpizarro20. And like I said, everything else is on my YouTube channel, which is just like my name, astridpizarro. Come on, you do it better than me.
All right, if you want to go pick up some merch from www.shop.com, remember that you can use this affiliate link right here to go ahead and get a little bit of a kickback to Astrid. You can still use the same great deals, like tonight is free shipping on all merchandise that you buy on www.shop.com, but you can go ahead and use this code and it kicks back a little bit to Astrid so that she can put that back into the Canva that we use to make the graphics and all kinds of fun stuff like that. We'd greatly appreciate it. If you want to support Astrid a little bit more directly, you can go ahead and buy her wonderful shirt that you can find on foryourwear.com/astrid-pizarro/ or you can just use that QR code right there. If you want to see the graphic a little bit more up close, it's unfortunately blocking Hudson, but this is the wonderful graphic for that shirt.
It's a cool graphic.
For me, I'm pretty easy. You can find me on Twitter at edfries12584. You can find me on simulcasting most of the stuff. Right now, we haven't been streaming this weekend stuff on my Twitch channel just because we're trying out the new thing about putting all these shows on YouTube, because Twitch is becoming a little bit expensive, and we're thinking that we might be switching over to YouTube. So we want to see how people like the YouTube audiences going forward. But you can go ahead and catch all of my content over at twitch.tv/edfries2002. I will be back with Astrid, like she said, on this Tuesday. And remember, that's September 18th. We are now in September, so we're in Agatha month. So make sure that you're here. September 18th, me and Andre are going to be doing the first 2-episode review of Agatha All Along, as Marvel Talk will return from its hiatus there. Marvel Talk is our great show where we talk about all things Marvel. We're picking back up again with Agatha All Along. We'll be here for all 8 weeks of the Agatha All Along show because they're dropping 2 episodes on the first night, and then there's 8 more episodes after that. So go ahead and check that out. If you want to check out all the wonderful stuff on our local establishment, you can find us here. We're at most places at OLE Podcasts, or if we're not there, we're at our local establishment on YouTube and on Twitch. At our local establishment, you can find all of the coverage from this weekend, where we had Bash in Berlin post-show coverage. We had Emergence post-show coverage. We had coverage for All In last week. So go ahead and check all of that great stuff out. Thank you all for joining us. I greatly appreciate it. And before we roll out of here, I'm going to load up the calendar so you guys can all see what we've got coming up this week. But thank you all for joining us. I greatly appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. Justin, thank you for joining us. You have been a fantastic guest. We will try to get you on sometime soon. You're more than welcome. Just send me or Astrid a message and be like, hey, there's a random Tuesday night. I want to show up, and let us know.
Yeah, if I got mad opinions, I'm going to say that, because I'll let you know. I just followed OLE Podcast on Twitter myself. I just did that live right here.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
That's how easy it is, people.
You can show up any Tuesday night. You've got an open invitation. Just come on in. Let us know you're coming. We'll send you a link, and you can jump right in.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
We'll greatly appreciate it. Have a great night, everybody.
Please note,